Hello, my dear students. How are you? Very good morning to all of you. Today, we will talk about self-regulation and self-enhancement. You see, in psychology, we have different schools. For example, behaviorism came, Watson's theory. He said that our behavior is governed by the external environment. Whatever we do, we get the reward, we get the reinforcement, our behavior is strengthened. We get the punishment, behavior is weakened. So, you see, that means we do the work according to the reward and the punishment which we are getting from the environment. We learn number of things from the environment. Then a very important and significant, a very big name came, psychoanalytic school of psychology, which was given by, as you know, Sigmund Freud. And Freud says that there are three states of the mind: conscious, subconscious, unconscious. Conscious means that the the place of the mind where you put the happiest moment of your life, the things which are readily available to you, which you want to remember, by recalling which you feel proud, that is your conscious mind. An unconscious mind is a state of mind where we push back all those events which give us pain. We don't want to remember. It gives us the guilt, feeling of the guilt, shame, and all the impulses that we put in the unconscious mind. And subconscious mind means the things are available, but you will have to put efforts, you will have to put little bit efforts to bring them in the conscious mind. Suppose I am a teacher, my one student gets a very high post. Now, remembering him, I feel proud that one of my students is IS, one of my students is scientist, one of my students in the atomic energy department, one of my students is the minister. Now, it gives me proud, their name is in my conscious mind. If somebody misbehaves with me, I don't want to remember, because recalling that incident gives me pain. So, what I do, I will push the name of that boy, that guy, in my unconscious mind. And subconscious means the student who neither misbehaved with me nor has got such a position that his name remains in my mind always. So, but if I put some effort, he comes before you, it may bring in my mind that he is, belongs to that batch. He was my student in that year, and I taught him this and that. So, Freud says conscious, unconscious and subconscious. Then he says that the personality has three parts: id, ego, superego. Now, id means your drives, impulses. Fulfilling that gives you pleasure. You don't know that what will be the consequence, whether you should do it or not. You do it because you get the pleasure. That is why we said that id works on the principle of pleasure. Ego means the reality. It will tell you whether you should do this work or not, if what will be the consequence, what the consequence I will have to face if I do this. That means it shows us the reality. That is why it works on the reality principle. And then the superego, tells us our culture, values, ethics, that whether my culture permits to do this behavior or not. That is why we said that it works on the ethical principle, and superego is our ethical arm. I am not giving you lecture today on id, ego, superego, and not explaining in that way. My point here is simply that if we believe that our behavior is governed by environment, that means we are slave of the environment. Whatever the environment wants to do, he can do. He can modify my behavior. That means I am slave of the environment. My own existence self has no meaning if I believe in pure behaviorism. If I say come to the psychoanalysis, that means I am the slave of my unconscious mind, I am the slave of my id, my impulses. This school, this topic which we are talking today, self-regulation, self-enhancement, they say no, we are not slave of the environment, we are not slave of the unconscious, we have ourselves own, we can understand ourselves own what we want to do, we can do. So, that is why the topic of today is self-regulation and self-enhancement. I think the topic is very, very clear that we want what we want to study today. Now, let us start self-regulation and self-enhancement. Id versus ego I have talked about. Id versus ego, Jekyll versus Hyde. On the whole, psychoanalytic theories take a dim view of nature, contending that we must struggle constantly to control our bestial impulses if we want to function a healthy, rational adult. That means, we want to remain as a rational person, what is right, what is wrong, we have to decide. Then we will always have to struggle between our ego, that whether my impulse should be fulfilled, what is right, what is wrong, what is ethical, what is non-ethical. So, that is what I earlier said, are we slave of this? So, is this view accurate? Is it accurate to say that throughout the life we will have to struggle between id and ego? Many psychologists doubt it. Many psychologists did not agree, they doubt it that we have to struggle between id and ego. They believe that human striving for growth, dignity and self-determination are just as important, if not more important, in the development of personality rather than primitive motives which Freud emphasized. Because of their optimistic ideas and about human nature, such views are known as humanistic theories or humanistic approaches, and the main founders, the big names which come in this approach is Maslow, Abraham Maslow and Rogers. Maslow 1970, Rogers 1977-82. Here is that much of the relevance. So, what humanistic theory says? They say that if we accept that ego is important, that means myself has nothing to do. I can't grow myself. They say the man has its own identity. After I am something, whether I should do or not, my impulse will not decide. I will decide myself. So, this view is known as humanistic approach, and this view talks about how we can self-regulate and how we can do self-enhancement by controlling our self. Now, self-regulation and self-enhancement. These theories differ widely in concept on which they focus, but they share the following characteristics. There are differences in their view, in their opinion, but what is the common we will talk about. They emphasize personal responsibility. Each one of us, these theories contend, is largely responsible for what happens to us. Our fate is mostly in our own hands. We are not merely chips driven here and there by dark forces within personalities. That means, I am responsible for my act. I am self-responsible. I am not a simply chip, I am not simply a piece of wood. You can put here, there, what you want. You can mold, you can do this thing. No, I will decide what to do. I am responsible for my action. I am accountable for my action. So, this they emphasize more on the self happening. Not, that means, you emphasize on personal responsibility. You take your responsibility yourself. Suppose a boy and a girl, they love each other, they come to me. Now, they say that we love each other and want to marry. It is an intercaste marriage. Now, the girl say, my parents are not permitting, the boy say, my parents are not permitting. What to do? Sir, you are a psychologist, you tell. Now, I say, okay, you should obey your parents and you should not marry each other because your parents do not want. Or I say, go ahead, nothing will happen. Go ahead, nothing will happen. Now, suppose they marry each other and my decision, what I tell to them, what I counsel themselves is just reverse of it. I said nothing happens, but the families are not accepting. If I say do not do it, now they, by my saying they do not do it, but the parents later on say you should marry, yaar, we are just saying for the fun. Who is responsible? The psychologist is responsible. So, this approach says no, you should tell them, well, This is the pros, this is the con. What are the merits, demerits of the issue? And now you decide yourself. You are accountable for yourself. So, because whatever we decide for ourselves, we are accountable, we are answerable to that decision, we are answerable to that response. So, this theory, this approach believes is that largely we are responsible for what happens to us. Environment is not responsible, my impulses are not responsible, I am responsible for myself. Their theories do not deny the importance of past experience, but they generally focus on the present. They do not deny at all that past is irrelevant. Definitely, whatever has happened in my past will affect me. That will come in my memory, that will come in my mind. But they say, past has gone, past has gone. The present is important. You should consider present, not the past. That is why sometimes, though it is related with the time management, self-regulation, I usually sometimes say, time is money, time is money. Why time is money? Yesterday was a cancelled check. Tomorrow is a promissory note. Today, present, is ready cash, use it. Yesterday I did not do, that has gone. What you can do? Tomorrow I will do this. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. But present is important. What you want to do, do it. Similarly, these theories say they say, though past is important, but emphasis should not be on the past, emphasis should be on the present. So, they focus on the present. Humanistic theories stress the importance of personal growth. They believe in the personal growth. People are not content with merely meeting their current needs. They wish to progress towards bigger goals, such as the best they can be. Achieving bigger goals will facilitate self-regulation and self-enhancement. That means, merely satisfying my present needs is not self-growth, is not self-growth. What is beyond that need? What is bigger to that? I get a job, I get a job. Suppose I get a job simply, merely on the basic level. Then I should say how I can go for the next higher post, which competition I should do for the RS, for the IS examination, for the provincial RS means Rajasthan Administrative Services, every province, every state its own state examination for the post of the officers, SDM, district magistrate, etc., etc. That means immediate goals are not important, the long term goals are also important. So, if we want to do self enhancement, humanistic approach say, don't confine yourself to the immediate present need, you think of the future also, not the past, future also, that what are your bigger goal, what big achievements goal you have to achieve. The viewpoints of Rogers and Maslow in relation to self-regulation in self-enhancement are briefly presented here. So, now we will briefly see what Rogers say about the self theory. One central assumption of Rogers' theory was that left to their own devices, human beings show many more positive characteristics and move over the course of their lives toward becoming full functioning person. That means you are to become full functioning person. What is full functioning person? I will tell you later, Maslow. Full functioning person means using your potentialities up to the maximum level. Whatever the strengths you have, whatever the potentiality you have, you will have to use that potentiality up to maximum level. Do not consider yourself simply as a device, that well, mechanical device, I can do this, I can do. No, you should identify your positive characteristics and move toward the fully functioning individual, fully functioning person. Now, this is the one of the central assumption of the Rogers self theory. Number 2, what are such persons like? Rogers suggested that they are people who strive to experience life to the fullest. As I told you, now what type of people will be called fully functioning person? Rogers replied that he suggested that they are people who strive to experience life to the fullest, who lives in the here and now, who trust their own feelings. They do not believe in they believe in their own feeling what they want to do. They are sensitive to the needs and rights of the others, but do not allow society's standard to shape their feelings or actions to an excessive degree. You see, very important line, very important point. They are sensitive to the needs and rights of the others also. When you are becoming full functioning need, you are not concerned about your own need, you are not selfish. You are to take care of the needs of the rights of the other persons also. And but it does not mean that you allow society to empower you, but do not allow society's standard to shape their feeling or action to an excessive degree. There are society's rule, there are social norms we have to follow, but the society norms, they will not should be excessively should pressurize you. You should decide your own, you take your own action. That is the main point of their theory. So, fully functioning people are not saints, they are not saints. They can and do act in way they later target. They decide their goal and then they fulfill it. But throughout life, their actions are dominated by constructive impulses, very important. Now, this message, this theory does not say that you are not saint, become the dacoits, become the robbers, They say this theory dominates the constructive impulses. Those impulses which are not destructive, which are constructive. For example, hating someone is a destructive impulse, helping someone is a constructive impulse. So, they emphasize your constructive impulse, not the destructive impulse, whereas it says whether destructive or constructive, do it, because that gives me gives me satisfaction. I want to beat someone, I will beat because it gives me satisfaction, that is it. But they say no, you should take care, you should not be dominated by the but you should be dominated by the constructive impulses. They are in close touch with their own values and feelings and experience life most deeply. Your value system is important, and that will shape your life, not the environment. Thus, they will be self-regulated, which will take them to the self-enhancement. If your behavior is governed by, directed by the values, you are taking the care of the society also, your impulses are constructive, you are trying to becoming a full functioning individual of your own, that will definitely lead to the self-enhancement. This was point of the Rogers theory. Next, if all human beings possess the capacity to becoming full functioning person too, why don't they all succeed? Why they all succeed? If everybody can do so, then why don't we all succeed? Why still many of us are governed by the environment? Why some of us are governed by the id impulses? Why we are doing the such behaviors which are not acceptable to the society, but they are giving me the pleasure. So, why not then everyone is becoming the fully functioning individual? The answer, Rogers contend, lies in the anxiety generated when life experience are inconsistent with their own ideas about ourselves. In short, when a gap develops between our self concept, our belief and knowledge of our own self, and reality or perception of it, lesser the gap, more will be the self enhancement. If there is a bigger gap between your self concept and the reality, that will enhance your self anxiety. What you are, that is self concept, and what should be, there is an ideal concept. If there is a bigger gap between the two, then it will affect your self enhancement, it will impair your self enhancement. So, if the gap is less, then there will be more self enhancement. Let us explain by example. Imagine a young girl who is quite independent and self reliant, and who thinks of herself in this way. It is her self concept. After her old sibling dies in an accident, however, her parents begin to baby her and convey the message over and over again that she is vulnerable and must be sheltered from outside world. This treatment is highly inconsistent with her self concept. As a result, she experiences anxiety and adopts one or more psychological defense to reduce it. The most common self enhancement is the tendency to attribute positive qualities to oneself and take credit of one's success whether or not these are accurate beliefs. Now, I have given an example. Suppose after older sibling dies, now there are two brothers and sisters. The brother is elder. The brother, suppose some happens and brother is no more in the universe, brother dies. Now, the parents say that to the daughter that since your brother is no more, he was your elder brother, he used to shelter you. So, now take care of the society, because number of things happen in society, it is vulnerable. But the girl, self concept is self confidence, self esteem. She says, I can protect myself, I can protect myself. It is her self concept. But if that pressure comes, it may hamper her self growth. But if she is not hampered by in that environmental pressure, she has the belief, she has that value system that I can protect myself, nobody can, disturb me. There will be self enhancement, self regulation. The flip sides of the self enhancement is when people tend to attribute losses or setbacks to factor beyond their control or to hostile intent by others. The flip sides. The other side is that when we are not able to get satisfaction or not fulfill the goal, then we start blaming the setbacks, that this is that, this is that. It will hamper the self growth. People who have achieved success in the financial field, financial success in the financial market, or otherwise have the tendency to attribute much of that success to their hard work, skills, intelligence or creativity. Luck and other outside influences are largely discounted, but they diminish the credit due to their own explicit abilities. Now, I have taken one example of the financial field. You can take example of the any field, academic, scientific field or any field in which you are working. Now, you have succeeded in that, you have reached to the heights in that area where you are working. So, it is the self enhanced person will give the credit to his creativity, hard work, skill and intelligence. Luck and other outside influences, they are not counted, and if you will have to diminish those, but if you are over there, then it will affect your self enhancement. That means, we should be internally controlled, not externally controlled. What Rotter said, internally controlled means you analyze yourself, and externally controlled, the environment will decide. I couldn't do this because luck was not with me. I couldn't get good marks because the paper was tough. It is external environment, external control person. Internal, I didn't study. I have some weakness. This is the internally controlled. So, the person who is self enhanced, who will believe in the self regulate, will be internally controlled, not externally controlled. When a person serves to self enhance, they may conveniently discount important factors. For example, investors who are self enhancing may attribute their portfolio returns largely to their stock selection skills rather than the bull market occurring over the same period of time. Who are doing the business of share, they know very well about the bull market. Now, those who are self regulating, self enhanced, they will decide themselves, well, whether I should shift to this share or that share. Not simply the bull market is down, what I can do, now bull market is high, the luck is with me. No. They will decide, they will analyze properly, internally they will analyze that what should I do this at this moment or at that moment. So, that will give to their self enhancement. Self enhancement in his example of attribution bias. Attribution bias involves systematic errors in attributing the reasons of cause for events or behavior. The flip side of the self enhancement in investing, the people's tendency to attribute mistakes or losses to factors beyond their control. It is also known as attribution bias. So, what we should do? We should not blame the forces which are beyond our control. Which are in our control, we should tackle those, we should attack those problems, we should do those behavior which are in our control, and that will lead to self enhancement. So, together these two attribute errors are also known as self serving. Nobody is self, they are self serving. And second is self enhancement leads to overconfidence and it put address advantage. If you are a self enhancement person, no impact of the environment, but the people are talking about you, criticizing you, hardly matters to me. If I am a self enhanced person, it will build me confidence and I will become an overconfident person. Now, before coming to the strategies or the techniques, the second theory is the Maslow. Now, Maslow is a big name in the self-regulation. He talks about the need hierarchy, and he says the basic need is the physiological need. After when this need is fulfilled, then we talk about the need for safety. Once the need is fulfilled, then we talk about the self-esteem, that means self-regulation. If this need is first we talk about the physiological need, then we talk about the need for the safety, then we talk about the belongingness need, that means need of the relationship, and when this need of relationship is fulfilled, then we talk about self-esteem, the fourth need, that means the need for the recognition, and the highest need is self-actualization. What is self-actualization? That means using one's potentialities up to the maximum level. It means that what Rogers talk about full functioning individual, Maslow talks about self-actualization. So, if you want to become a self-actualized person, then according to Maslow, your basic four needs should be fulfilled: physiological, then safety, then belongingness, and then the self-esteem. Then you will able to use your one's potentialities. So, when we talk about the self need, this we should also consider in mind. Now, how to improve this self enhancement? Self improvement activities. What activities we should do? What behaviors we should do, which will help us in becoming a self enhanced person? Number one, set goals for yourself. Don't permit others to set goals for you. Set goals for yourself. You say, okay, this is my goal, I will achieve. But the person who is a self enhanced, who is a self governed, is also a realistic person. You set your goals, but you must be flexible. You must be flexible in reducing those goals. Suppose, for example, I am getting 50% throughout my career. In 10th, I got 50%. In 12th, I got 50%. In BA, I got 50%. Now, when I come to the post graduation MA, I set my goal 80%. Now, nobody said 80%. I decided myself that 50% will not work. I must now get 80%. This is my goal. That far goal, I will have to work. I will have to become fully functioning individual, fully functioning person. I will have to exploit my potentialities, which I was talking about. But suppose in first semester, you are getting simply 60%. Now, you can reduce your goal from 80 to 75 to 70. Be realistic. Okay. But get self-motivated, self-motivation. Okay. From 50 in first semester, I have reached to 60. From 50, I have reached to 60. Now, forget about 65. Next time, I will try for 65 for the 70. In next semester, you get 65. Now, now increase your goal, next 5% 70, then 75, then 80. So, you should set your goal yourself, but the goals must be realistic. That should not depend on your luck and other factors. They must be realistic, and you will have to be flexible in setting the goals. Number two, surround yourself with people who want to see you do well. You should be surrounded by the person who are your well-wisher, your parents, your friends, your teachers. Those who are critics, though you are always, this is wrong, those who are negatively approach loaded, they should not surround you. You should be surrounded by the people who are well-wisher, who have the positive attitude, and who want that you should do it. Evaluate what is not working and eliminate those habits. Evaluate this, that I have said, reduce your goal. Well, okay, I have adopted this habit, but this is not helping, it is hampering. Now, remove that habit. Now, if you are too much eating, you are too much sleeping, then this habit is hampering to decide you to achieve your goals, reduce your that area. So, you should evaluate what is not working and eliminate those habits. Eat healthy and hydrate daily. Eat healthy food, and hydrate means take sufficient amount of water. Now, this generation is use junk food maximum, that is not healthy food. Eat healthy food, which should be full of vitamins, proteins, calcium, iron. Learn new activity or the skills. What you have learned, that is good, but self-enhanced person will always explore more new activities, more new skills, what I can do more, what I can do much and much new things. Have compassion for yourself and others. You should have compassion for yourself as well as for the others. Get active. Getting active is not only good for health, it is also good for relieving stress. You should remain active throughout your life. If you are active, it will not help you to achieve your goals, to make you self-enhanced person, but will also reduce your stress. It is also a good revealing stress. If you are sitting idle, you say idle mind is a mind of devil, and if you are active, your stress will be removed and you will become a self-enhanced person. So, in this lecture, we have tried to study what is self-enhancement, what is self-regulation. We should not be slave of the environment. We should not be slave of our impulses, id-ego, superego, conscious, unconscious, but we should master ourself. We should master our self mind, and we should master our own. That is why if you go for the Rogers therapy, Rogers has given a therapy which is called client-centered therapy, non-directive therapy. Now, he has not used the word patient, he has used the word client. Client is a positively loaded word, patient is a negatively loaded word. So, he says that we must give respect to the individual, non-directive. He, in his therapy, Rogers says, I will not give any direction, I will not give any direction. You just talk and he is listening and telling something, this, that. You should decide yourself. If you decide yourself, you are accountable to that. So, in this way, we can become a self-enhancing person.